So what we're going to do today is go through how to create a spreadsheet that can track your metrics for resistance training exercises, such as, powerlifting, weightlifting, those types of things. I'm doing this on a Google Sheet, and this is also using an iPad, so some of the things will be a little bit different if you're on your computer, but the general principles will still remain the same. Feel free as you go through this to pause this, catch up, go through, make your own one as you go so you learn how to do it. And then, you'll be able to use this and edit this and kind of make it your own. But what I'm trying to do is teach you some of the basic principles and how I go through creating a spreadsheet that tracks metrics. So the first thing I'm going to do is minimize this side here. I'm going to make that small because I just like to have a thin strip down the side there. In this one, I'm just going to write today's day or day one for this program. That is Monday, and I'm going to make that bold. I will then go through and make each of these ones into 3 rows that emerge together to make one big cell. So this first one will be your exercise. So I'm going to put bench press in here just because it is easy to do. And then over here, I'm going to enter in the 1RM for said exercise. So whatever exercises you're wanting to track, you obviously have to have some idea of your estimated 1 rep max or your 1 repetition maximum. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to drag all the way across here. What I'm then going to do is center that horizontally and center that vertically. The next step that we want to do is that this cell here needs to automatically calculate the percentage for us so that we can get an idea of whatever weight that we enter into this cell here, what is the percentage that we are utilizing for that. Now, this is going to be what is called an if formula. So we are going to go equals if, and then we will open up a bracket. What we are wanting to say is that if the number that we enter is greater than 0 or is not equal to 0, then we will calculate that or display that percentage. So what I'm going to do for that is go equals if, open the brackets, I click there, and I go divided by, and I will go a $sign, which means it will always refer to the column, because obviously we're going to paste this into each column. So it's always going to refer to column C. You can do the same thing with rows if you had, for instance, $4, and then we're going to go equals 0. So now if this value is true, what we want to display is nothing. So I'm just going to put 2 speech marks back to back, which means it would display absolutely nothing in that column. I will put another comma in here, the value if false. What we want is to actually be the value that it had calculated. So again, D5 divided by $sign C4. Close that bracket, hit enter. You'll notice nothing displays. The reason that nothing displays is because there is no number entered here. So now let's say that that was 100 kilograms, for instance. Now what you'll see is it automatically displays that as a percentage, right? So what you need to do to ensure that happens is you need to have gone in here, have gone cell, number format needs to have percentage, and you need to have made that down to 0 decimal places so that it displays that as a whole number, because we're not too interested in how many decimals, and those decimal point numbers when we're looking at this sort of stuff. It's just an approximation of the percentage for us. So now we've got that, we'll also enter in 5 down here because that is our repetitions. Now what I can do is copy that, right? And I can go copy, and I can go paste, and then I'll do that for both of those. And I will have that until we have 8 of these entered in. So that is 6, one more, that is 8. So now what you'll see is if I was to change this number, it would automatically update the percentage above, right? So that's automatically done for me now. So what we'll do firstly, not 200, what we'll do firstly here is just make this a little bit more realistic as to what this training might look like. So let's say that the athlete warms up with a 60 kgs to do 5, they then do 80 kgs for 5, they do 90 kgs for 5, and then let's say that they're going to do 95 for 3 sets of 5, 95, 95, and 95. Now I'm going to delete these 2, but sometimes you might do extra working sets. For instance, if I did those 3 warm-ups and then a 5x5, I would utilize those. But for now, I'm going to go clear and I'm going to leave those blank. What we're going to do is now make this sheet automatically track or sum the number of repetitions that are above 60%. I choose 60% as my standard sort of tracking number and don't count reps below that. It's really up to you. For this one, we are going to use an if formula. So I'm going to click in here, I'm going to go equals, and I'm going to enter in here sum if. I will then open that up. Now, I said I only want to track numbers that are above 60%. So the range that we're looking at when we're trying to check are they above that value is all of those 8 cells that we had entered in, right? So I've chosen those. And then what we want to do is go open speech marks and 59.5%. So now that's saying if the value is greater than 59%, it will sum these ones here that I now choose in this sum range. And then if I hit enter there, what you will see is there is 25 reps, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets that are above 60%, and we have one set that is below. So you notice it hasn't counted that set that is below, which is great. That's exactly what we want it to do. We can check that it is doing that for all of those. If we change this one to 60, for instance, it then goes down to only display 20. So I'll change that one back up to 80. I'll hit enter there. Then what we want to do next is determine the tonnage, right? So this was our reps. The next one up will be our tonnage, and then this top one will be our relative intensity, or the average intensity per rep performed. To calculate this tonnage, what we are going to do is do an equals formula, and we're going to go equals, an equals formula, an if formula. We're going to go equals if, and then we need to make sure that we are only summing up these values if the percentage value is greater than 59.5 again, to be greater than that 59.5%. So I enter that in, D greater than 59%. Now, if that is true, what I want it to do is go 60 times by 5. If that is not true, I do not want to add any values to my sheet, right? I don't want to add any more values to that tonnage because it shouldn't count as a metric because I've chosen 60% as my cutoff point. So then I'm going to go through, I'm going to speed this bit up now because all I'm going to do is that exact same thing for all 8 of those columns. So the last thing we need to do here is figure out the relative intensity. Now that is a simple formula because that is simply the tonnage divided by the reps, which will give us an average weight, and then we divide that average weight per repetition by the 1RM. So let's go equals, we're going to go tonnage divided by the number of repetitions. I will put brackets around that, and we will divide that by the 1RM. So there we go, that says 76%. Remember, we've already changed this to a percentage, displaying to 0 decimal places earlier, so that has done it automatically for us there. There is one thing we want to do actually to these percentage formulas, just in case we delete values later on so we do not get an error. So what we need to do here is go to the start, just type in if error, we open up the brackets, then this one that we already had entered in was our value, we go comma, we go speech mark, and we close that bracket. And then we will go through and we're just going to copy that exact same thing here, right? If error, open that, comma, speech mark, close the brackets, equals, right? And that displays that 50%. We can go copy, we can go paste, and we can go across. For those 3, copy, paste, and then just one more of those, paste, right? So now if there was an error, it wouldn't display anything, which can be useful sometimes if you go and change the 1RM or take it out because it automatically comes up with an error when it can't divide by 0. So that's what we've got so far, right? We need to make this just a little bit tidier to look at, right? So we're going to enter in some outer borders there. We're going to do that for there, and this is just my own personal preference. You can kind of choose what you want here, but this way it just separates out for me the exercise name, the 1RM, the working sets, and then finally our average weights for the day. And just to check that our formulas are calculating correctly, let's just go clear. We can see that that's not counting that because that's under 60%. I'm going to go undo. I'm going to clear everything aside from the 80. We can see that's calculating 5 times 80 is 400, which we know is correct. Right, if we then add on the 90, we can see, yep, it is still doing everything as we want and calculating those accurately. So once we've got that, we can go ahead and we can copy this now, and we've done all the hard work, right? We can just simply paste that. This one here could be a dumbbell bench press, right? Incline, let's say. Right, incline dumbbell bench press. Now you notice that that displays, looks like it won't fit in the cell. So I need to click on that, choose wrap, and I'll do the same thing above there. So you can see the one that highlighted green there, right? This button here was our wrap. Brings that down to the line. Let's say then for our incline dumbbell bench press that 110 is our estimated 1 repetition maximum, aka we can do a single with 55 kgs in each hand. You might not know these sorts of things. It's just having an estimation is useful, right? And you can use any sort of 1RM calculator available online. There's some on the resources page of hjpmethod.com. But we can go through here. Let's say that we want to do some sets of 8 at 70% or 70-ish%. So let's say we go 75 here, that's 68, that'll do. We're going to do some sets of 8, 75 for 8. Remember to ignore the numbers that are being done here, right? They're just an example. So 75 for sets of 8, which would be a 32.5 kilo dumbbell in each hand. We can carry on, and let's say that we're going to go have 5 of these exercises, or 5 of these exercise columns open potentially. Right, you could have more, you could have less, the principle remains the same. In this last one, we're going to clear those numbers there. We're going to clear that, and you'll see because we got rid of those would normally display an error, but they're now blank. We're going to get rid of that one. We've done a whole bunch of pushing, so let's add a barbell row here. Right, barbell row. Let's say that this person can do a barbell row at 130 kgs for their estimated 1 repetition maximum, and we'll bump that up to 80, which is 62%, and we will get that lifter to do sets of 15 there. All right, so sets of 15. Then this last one, let's say that we don't actually want to calculate the number of repetitions performed, right? We don't need to worry about that because this is going to be, let's say, pull-ups, which can be quite hard to calculate because you do need to have a body weight as well as any sort of added weight that you might have. So let's just say that we're just not going to count that. We're just going to regularly do this, and we know or have an idea that this is always happening, right? 3 times 8 to 12 repetitions. Now we have day 1 basically completed, right? It's got our 5 exercises. It's got all of our calculations occurring over here. So let's just add a little total here, right? So we can have a daily reps total. If you prefer to use tonnage, you could use the daily tonnage total. It's really up to you. I'm going to put that on the right hand side, and then this one here will simply equal all of these rep ones, right? And we're going to choose all 5 of these in case one day you might have exercises in there that you want to use, and so your template will allow for that. We'll make that go to the left hand side, and we will click bold there. So that there is your first day on a Google Sheet that can track your metrics. So this is kind of step 1 in designing a Google Sheet that can track metrics for you.